Hi guys, Jen Roque here at stampcampwithjen.com. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Summerfield, Florida, and thank you so much for joining me today. If you're new, if you're watching from my YouTube channel, please go ahead and like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and don't forget to hit that bell so you never miss a new video. Also, in the description below the video, I have a complete list of supplies and current promotions that I'm offering as well. If you're watching from my blog and you're new, again, welcome. And please sign up for my newsletter. I send news every Friday morning on Stampin' Up!, Stampin' Storage, different crafting things as well. So today, this is the cute little card that we're going to make, and I'm actually going to show you two different Stamparatus tips with this and a cool embossing folder tip that I've done at my Stamp Camp classes before. I created these for my monthly free gift earners for, what month are we in? October. So for September. So I made these to go with their free gifts and a little bit of candy that I mail out to my free gift earners for the month. Each month I try to create a new original card to send to them just to give them some inspiration, and I thought this would be a good one. And then this one is great because I get to share Stamparatus and embossing folder tips with you all as well. So let's go ahead and get started with this one. So our card base that we're using today is the beautiful Cinnamon Cider, which is one of the 2020 to 2022 ink colors. I love this color for fall, and it's perfect for this little squirrel card with the wood background. So that's what we're using. And the stamp set that we're using today is the Nuts About Squirrels stamp set. It's a photopolymer stamp set. So to get this background, I'm going to show you my embossing folder tip. And it's a little crazy, but bear with me, okay? So we're going to take a piece of, I have a piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 Cinnamon Cider cardstock. And then I have the Timber embossing folder. This is a 3D embossing folder, I believe. So it's a little bit thicker than a standard embossing folder is, okay? So pay attention to your sandwich on your embossing machine, and I'll show you how to do it here in just a second. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Early Espresso stamp pad, and I'm going to open it up. And then we want the wood grain to go this way. This is straight up and down with the Stampin' Up! Label on the side here. So when I put my paper inside, I'm actually going to lay it long ways this way with the label on the side, if that makes sense, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I think this is how I did it before, yep. So the side that has the Stampin' Up! Emblem is going to be on the bottom, and we are going to, I think to make it easier, I'm going to do it on the opposite side here. So I'm just taking my stamp pad and I am rubbing it all along my embossing folder here. Okay. And then what we're going to do, and you want to make sure to get it from the top to the bottom as evenly as you can. So let's see. Make sure that you ink it up nice and good. And then what I'm going to do is the side that's not inked, I'm going to lay it down. You can kind of see where that Stampin' Up! Emblem is. And I'm going to lay it down, and then I'm going to flip the ink side over on top of it, okay? And now I'm going to grab my Stampin' Emboss machine. I'm going to try to close my ink pad without, so I don't make a huge mess. This is really dark ink here. Okay, so I have my emboss machine. We're going to open this up. Oops. And then if you look at your number 1 plate here, it tells you that with 3D embossing folders, you need the number 1 plate, the embossing folder, and then the number 4 plate. So we're going to put the number 1 plate down, and then the embossing folder. And then the gray plate is the number 4 plate, and we're going to put that right on top there. And then we're going to roll this through the machine. And then when you open it up, you have that beautiful wood grain effect. Isn't that so cool? And by inking one side and then putting the paper down on the other side, it kind of helps it keep the messiness to a minimum. You're gonna get messy, so just be careful. Make sure to wipe your fingers when you're done touching the embossing folder, and then obviously wipe it off too. I'm not gonna wipe it off because I have a bunch more cards to make after this, but I just wanted to show you. So again, what I did, just to clarify, and see I'm getting ink all over my fingers because it's all over this folder, but the side here that has that Stampin' Up label, that's going to be the clean side. We're not going to ink it up. We're going to ink up the other side here. And then I just put my paper down right along that line where the Stampin' Up label is. And I took the inky side and flipped it down on top, okay? That's all we did. And look how cool that is. I love that because that ink really highlights those grooves and it really makes it look, it comes alive. It really makes it look more realistic. I think that's so cool. We did that in Stamp Camp last year. I did it with a different wood embossing folder that's retired now. And everybody thought it was really neat. I love that. And I haven't tried it. I want to try it with like snowflakes and things for Christmas, but I haven't quite tried that out yet. So, all right, so I've got my cinnamon cider card base. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take some tear and tape and put it on the back here. I tried to use Stampin' Seal Plus, and it actually kind of tore my paper up. So I'm going to use tear and tape for this one, and just, you really want to get it as close to the edges as possible so that it lays flat on your card. So I'm trying to put it right up against that edge there. And that way you won't have any bubbling, because with embossing folders and ink, it can make your paper a little wavy. So that's why I really want this extra tear and tape on here to make sure that it's gonna really stick down well. And I usually just do this little line in the middle, but I actually think I'm gonna do it like a little X kind of, just to really make sure I don't have any bubbling. I don't want any part of my project to come up, okay? So now what I always do with tear and tape is I always go over it with my bone folder just to kind of reinforce it to the paper and make sure, because especially when you have little grooves from an embossing folder, you want to make sure that that tear and tape is really going to stick on that, okay? And then we're going to take our spatula here from the Take Your Pick tool, and I am going to use that little spatula to just lift up the edges of that tear and tape backing and peel it right off. I use this all the time. This is, oops, see, and that's not sticking very well. There we go. But this is the easiest way I found to get this tear and tape backing off. And it's great too, because I know a lot of us ladies, we like to go and get our nails manicured. So you get those thick acrylic or gel nails on and you can't really grab anything. So this little spatula helps fix that problem too. Or maybe you cut your nails down and it's just hard to grab anything. So I always use this little spatula to get my backing off. So, all right, so figure out which way you want your wood to go, and I want it like that. So this is going to be the same size as the card base. So you really just want to put it on there, get those corners lined up well. And then you can just kind of flatten it down. And then if there's any excess, you can go around and trim it. Let's see. Did pretty good, actually. I have a little bit on the edge here I'm going to try to trim off. But other than that, I don't really see anything. It's pretty straight, which is always nice. And just a little bit in this corner right here. Yeah, that's pretty good. All right, so the next thing I'm gonna do, I took my, these Scallop Contours dies, that second largest die. Let me show you. Okay, so this die right here, this is the second largest one in those little scalloped frames. I die cut the like tree pattern from the Beauty of the Earth paper with that scallop die. So I'm just going to take that one and I'm going to put it right in the middle with a bunch of dimensionals. And then we'll move on to the Stamparatus. Oh, I guess I gotta start with a new pack. So for this, I'm just gonna put dimensionals all over the back here. I don't know what it is about this little squirrel stamp set, but when I saw it in the catalog, I just thought it was adorable. And I couldn't wait to get it. I've done a couple projects with it now, and I just think it's so cute. And I love that you can use the Stamparatus with it, especially for my friends who don't like to color a lot. The Stamparatus is a great way to get it to look really cute without having to color. So I really like that you can use the Stamparatus with it and make a lot of really cute, quick projects. And there's no coloring. This one I have a little bit of coloring because we're going to color the little acorn that he's holding, but it's really easy and quick. It's not a lot of coloring. So, all right, so I'm going to make sure my trees are facing the right direction, and we're just going to center this right on the card front. Okay, we got that little bit popped up, so we're going to put this aside for right now. I'm going to grab my Stamparatus. So, what we're going to do today, this is called template stamping. So what you do is I have a circle cut out, and this circle I use the layering circles dies, and I use the one that's the second largest flat or like non-scallop circle. So straight edge circle, flat circle. Okay, so I took the second largest one and I die cut a circle from a little template here. Okay, and now I have a bunch of these circles in a little pile over here, okay, and they fit right in the middle there. So what we're gonna do for template stamping, so this is a great way, like if you're making a bunch of cards in bulk, you can stamp them all at once and have everything ready to go. So all you have to do is assemble your card. So as I always tell people with the Stamparatus, these little spines here on the end are raised up a little bit. So I always put my paper up in the top corner here, but I try not to stamp right against these spines because they are lifted a little bit. If you put a stamp right along those edges, it's going to be really hard to get a flat, smooth surface. So I always do it a little bit away from those spines, okay? So I'm just going to put my paper or my magnet down in the corner here, and I actually have the Stamparatus Deluxe Foam Mat underneath here because it is a photopolymer stamp set. It doesn't have that foam that the red rubber stamps have on the back, so you need that, here, let me show you. You need that extra bit of foam. Now the Stamparatus does come with a plain black foam mat, and you could use this as well, use that as well. But for this technique, I would recommend this because we're gonna use a little bit of adhesive on this shiny part of the mat here, and you won't be able to do that with that black mat that comes in your Stamparatus. So again, we put the foam mat on, and then we put our paper up in the corner, and now we're gonna take our magnet and use that to secure our paper in place, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just taking a little bit of repositionable adhesive or a little bit of the Stampin' Seal, and I'm just gonna put a teeny tiny bit in the center there to hold my paper down. And especially with photopolymer stamps, that's a great way to keep your paper in place because the photopolymer stamps are real sticky, and a lot of times when you stamp on paper, it wants to pull the paper up with the stamp because the stamp sticks to the paper. But if you put that little bit of adhesive there, it will hold your paper in place on your Stamparatus, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is I am going to position my squirrels in place, okay? So first what we're going to do is we are going to grab, what did I do with them? Oh, here they are. So we're going to take the squirrel that's the outline first, and we're going to position him in the center, okay? So that looks good. You just position it how you want, and then you take the plate and you just lightly press it down on the stamp, and the stamp will stick to the plate, okay? And then I'm gonna take my tuxedo black, Memento ink pad and stamp up the squirrel. And I always like to, here, let me move this down. I didn't realize you guys can't really see that very well. There we go. So I always like to put the stamp set right underneath the plate. That way I have a smooth, flat stamping surface, okay? So I just inked up my squirrel in the Tuxedo Black Memento ink pad here. And then we're just gonna flip it over and press down and press that squirrel onto the paper. And the paper stayed in place. Normally, if I didn't have that little bit of adhesive behind there, that paper would come right up with it, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my other plate and stick it straight up and down and stick it in my spines. And then I'm gonna put another stamp set underneath there. And let me see if you guys can see that here. All right, so now I'm gonna take the squirrel stamp that is the center of the squirrel, the little color part that you're going to get on his tail and his ears and his feet, and I'm just lining this up, making sure that the ears and the tail and the feet are all lined up in place here. His legs look a little off. So it looks like the tail's good, the ears, his little leg is in place. Now I'm going to take the top plate and just lightly press down and pull that up. Now we're going to take the cinnamon cider. I'm going to try to move this down a little bit so you can see. There we go. So the cinnamon cider ink pad, and I'm going to lightly ink it up. You don't want to press down too hard because these ink pads are so juicy. If you do that, you're going to press down onto the plate. You just want to lightly ink it all over a couple times, okay? There we go. And then we're going to flip him down. Move that up so you can see. And I'm just gonna rub all over that stamp. And it looks like there's a couple little spots where maybe I had some fuzz or something on there, but that's okay. I can always color it in with my marker, or I'll just leave it probably. Or if you want to, you can re-ink the stamp. I kind of pulled those little fuzzy pieces away so we can re-ink it. I will caution you though, if you re-ink it, it's going to make the coloring darker. So try not to re-ink your stamp too much because it's just going to make your squirrel darker and darker and darker if you keep re-inking it. See? It's pretty dark, but it's okay. But now I don't have those little spots of fuzz that I had. So that's a way you can fix it. But just like I said, every time you re-ink it, it's going to get darker and darker. But that is perfectly positioned. It's all in the lines and everything. I didn't have to color anything. And now I can take my magnet off, and because I put it right in the corner, it's going to be perfectly lined up, and I just pull that little circle up and it's right there. So let's do that one more time just so you guys can see how I have it. So I put my template up in the corner. I still have that adhesive on there, so I don't need to put any more on. It's going to work pretty well. So we're just going to put that circle right in there, and I'm going to rub my finger over that adhesive to make sure it sticks. I'm going to ink up my squirrel in the black. Stamp it right on. Perfect, just like that. And now I'm going to ink up the body in the cinnamon cider. We're going to flip that down. And you'll see it's perfectly positioned every time. And now I can make 20 of these in a snap, no problem. So I'm just going to carefully pull that off. And then there's no, I mean, there's a little bit of sticky on the back, but I'm going to stick it onto a card front anyway. So you can kind of see here, this is the one that I had to ink up twice, and this is the one I inked up once. So it is darker on this one. And this is more the lighter cinnamon cider color, but either one will work. They work pretty well, but they're all perfectly positioned. Is not coming out of the body. The coloring is staying perfectly where it needs to go. So that's how you do template stamping and two-step stamping. And two-step is just we step step 1 was doing the outline of the body, and step 2 was doing the interior of the body, and that's 2-step stamping. So that's how you do those. So now that we've done that, I am going to carefully put this away so that I can come back to it when I'm done with my video here, and then I'm going to show you how to put this card together. So now we've done our Stamparatus here. So we have the body with the trees in the back. So now we did our little squirrel. We have him here. So we're going to put him on. Now we need to do our Nuts About You. Let me get a scrap piece of basic white. Okay, I have a scrap piece of basic white here. I have the Nuts About You, and then my Mary Merlot. My desk is kind of a mess right now. Let's see if I can find this. I had it out yesterday. Put it back now. Okay. Oh my goodness, guys. This is what happens when you don't clean up your stamp space very well. Here it is. My Mary Merlot is getting a little dry too. So let's see. All right, we'll move this over. So I'm just going to take my Nuts About You, and we're going to stamp it right there. I really need to re-ink this one with my refill, but that's okay. This will work for now. And then this one, I actually took, I think it was, no, it was the smallest one, I think. Yeah, I took the smallest layering circle and die cut that one out. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to get some, I'm just going to do that. I have my magnetic Big Shot, so give me 1 second. I'll do that real quick. All right, so we've got that Nuts About You. I really hope Stampin' Up! Works on there. I know they've been working on the magnetic plate for the Stampin' Cut emboss machine. They haven't given us any updates yet, but as soon as they do, I will post them in my newsletter and on my blog. I know they've been working on it, but I guess they haven't figured out those kinks quite yet. So as soon as they do, I'll buy it. I bought the other one and I couldn't wait, but it was really like you could bend it, and after you used it a bunch of times, it was almost like a little bowl. It was really weird. Okay, so this squirrel is going to hang off just a little bit, so I don't want to put my seal all the way to the side. I'm just going to put, maybe I'll do a straight line here so we know not to go that far away, okay? And then I'm just going to put this kind of towards the bottom, making sure his little feet are level. And then I'm going to do the same thing. You could use liquid glue if you want. I just like to use seal. And then we're going to put the Nuts About You in that little blank space up here in the corner. And then the last little flourish is, oh, I forgot to color my acorn, you guys. But that's not a problem. So I'm just going to use, I have the dark crumb cake and then the light cinnamon cider. And for the crumb cake one, I'm using that for the acorn topper here. And again, very minimal coloring. It's not anything crazy that we have to worry about. We're just going to color that little bit. I'm not doing any shading or anything. And then the light cinnamon cider we're going to do for the body of the acorn here. I knew I was going to forget that, but that's all right. There we go. So we colored that in. And now the last little flourish is the brush metallic adhesive back dots. I love these things. So we're going to use the ones that are kind of like the gold color here. And I'm using the putty end of my Take Your Pick, and you just push along the adhesive dot and then you stick it wherever you want on your card, and that's how you get it to stick really well and to work. So I'm gonna put one up there, maybe another one here, and that's it. A tip that I got from Wendy Cranford, actually, she's another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. She said when you put little embellishments on, she learned that you put them in an odd number and that you try to make them like in a triangle to each other. So this is kind of like an oblong triangle, and apparently that's very pleasing to the eye. And I have found that that does work. So I try to do that when I put embellishments on as well. So, all right, guys. So this is my card for my September free gift earners, and I hope you learned a lot today. Oops, that's pretty high up. I hope you learned a lot today. I showed you how to get this cool wood grain effect by coloring your embossing folder using that Timber 3D embossing folder, and then I showed you how to do template stamping and two-step stamping to stamp this cute little squirrel from the Nuts About Squirrel stamp set. So if you need any of the supplies from today's project, please shop with me at stampinup.com. My name is Jennifer Roque, and if you place an order of at least $50 before shipping and tax and use my monthly host code, you'll earn a free gift. For the month of October, it's a roll of tear and tape. If your order is over $150, don't enter the host code, just enjoy your Stampin' Rewards and you will still get that free gift, okay? Free gifts always go out mid-month the following month, so for October they'll go out mid-November, okay? If you have any questions at all or you need help placing an order, please feel free to contact me anytime. You can email me at stampcampwithjen@gmail.com. All right, guys. Well, I really hope you enjoyed this cute little card. I had a lot of fun coming up with it. And until next time, be safe and happy stamping. Bye.